We have 4 members present that I can see. So I guess we'll call the January 6th, 2021 meeting to order. Just have one thing to read here. It says, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order, imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Municipal Building Committee is conducted by remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by tuning into Westborough TV. With that being said, first thing I guess we can ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the December 2nd, 2020 meeting. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve them, but I think there's a correction that's got to be made.
Okay.
And hang on, let me just pull them up and see which. Yeah, in the heading, this is more FYI to Enza. In the heading of the minutes, under others present, is listed Ian Johnson. And then when I was reading your annual report, Al, it said that Ian was appointed as the board's representative, but a full voting member of the committee.
Yes.
Is that correct? All right. So
that is correct.
Ian's name should be up above with members present.
Okay.
You see where I'm saying here?
Yeah.
I will make that correction.
Okay. Enzer has acknowledged that, and she will make that correction next time.
Okay. So with that correction, and I'll move that the minutes be approved as printed.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Jim Stewart, second. We'll do a roll call. Dexter?
Aye.
Jim Stewart?
Aye.
Earl?
Aye.
Ian?
Aye.
And Al Gordon? Yes. I don't know if Peter's on yet. Peter O'Neill?
All right. Ian just came on.
Yes, I see him. He voted in the affirmative also.
Okay.
Okay. With that, all members present voted in the aye, so that has been accepted. I guess we'll just turn the meeting over to Peter now.
President, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, committee members, and all other attendees. I hope you can see the screen in front of you, which is just kind of the cover sheet and some of the backup information for today's meeting. Similar format to past meetings. I believe Jonathan Ennis, are you on the call, John?
Yes, I am, Peter.
Good morning, thank you. Maybe we can go through some of these items with respect to item 3A. There's a series of numbers there similar to the past. I know we talked about a punch list walkthrough. Has your office been able to establish a timeline?
Yeah, so I can confirm right after the meeting. I'm just linking up with Matt and Leroy to find what time works best. I believe we're leaning towards Tuesday or Wednesday right at this moment. And I just want to point out quick, too, the punch list that's on the list, I sent you an update on that was from November 5th, and I actually sent it a couple times, so that one's an old version.
So the 11, I should be using the 11.5 list that you sent, 11.520?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make sure I include that when we do the walkthrough, and I'll update this, send it out to the committee after the meeting. Okay, so we're looking at next, maybe, did you say Tuesday, January 12th?
Yeah, Tuesday or Wednesday. I can confirm this afternoon.
Okay, 112 or 113. Okay, Jim, are you still good for that date? Nothing changed?
Yes, we're good.
Thank you. Is Fred Leonardo on the call this morning?
Yeah, hi, Peter. Fred Leonardo is here. Can we get that date sooner? Because it's holding up my schedule. And we've been asking this for days, months, years. Can we get it this morning, please?
Yes.
Oh, that'd be great, because yes,
We were just told late last week that of the dates, so sorry about that.
yeah, if we could just confirm it this morning, that'd be fantastic. I can make all the dates that you referred to.
Okay.
I'll send out a confirmation once I hear back from Jonathan.
Perfect.
Next item, if we could, anything new with anybody, either Jim or Jonathan, on the rooftop units 1, 2, and 3?
So I can start with that. I do have a CX log update. I just received it late last night. I'll send that out this morning, and it looks like all the items are done with the exception of 5 that will be addressed on the week of January 11th. And there's 5 items that need responses from the town. But you'll see that this morning as well. And then I know that they installed a power analyzer device at the panel for the RTUs, and I believe it should be coming off in the next couple of days, and then they'll take the data and create a report, and we'll be able to share that with everybody. But as far as I know, everything else is functional, but Jim knows better than I do on that.
Well, when you say functional, the RTUs aren't running. The cooling end of it has always been the problem, Jonathan, not the heating end. Basically, in the heat, that's only supplying the hot air, the air. It's not even hot air to circulate the heat. That comes from the boilers. The problem we've had is on the cooling end of it, and we have no idea if they're up and running. So they don't run in the winter. So that whole part of the RTUs. And it really goes for all 3 of them. On the cooling side, we'll have to wait till spring or some warmer weather where we can start running air conditioning because, right now there isn't any issues because nothing's running.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so Jonathan, you mentioned your office will be sending out a date to the commissioning corrective action log later this morning.
Yes.
And in there will be some responses to any rooftop units 1, 2, and 3 regarding any corrective action.
Yes, they answered any open items.
So beyond the cooling mode of those rooftop units, they obviously introduce fresh air. They obviously modulate back and forth based on outside temperatures and things of that nature, occupied, unoccupied. How are other things or other components of those rooftop units operating beyond the cooling mode? Anybody have any updates on that, Jim, as far as programming, accessibility to the programming, training of the programming, things right down the list of what you have on your mind?
So, as far as training, I'm waiting on some dates. We had to get through the holidays. We'd missed a couple of BMS training dates, last year in December. And so now we're looking for some dates on that because that is still outstanding. We do not, I am absolutely not satisfied with the training that we were given. We've had 45 minutes of BMS training, and it was the day after the thing was turned on live. And there was many glitches in it then. There was things that weren't working. So we definitely need more BMS training. I'm just waiting on some dates from 5-Star or from Tony Roberto or Adams or somebody to send me some dates so we can get that. As far as everything else, I want to see the corrective action log that Jonathan's going to send over to us. I have some. I don't want to say one way or another if it's working. I don't think that the system is working the way I want it to work, but I don't know if that's because that's just the way it's set up and that's the scope, and it's anything that I might want would be an addition or a change or something like that. So I really just need some verification from our commissioning agent that these items have been taken care of. And I have discussed this with him. Some of the items that I felt it should be able to do, he said that wasn't in the engineering or the scope of the work. It's still functioning properly. It's just, I don't have that ability to make those particular changes. So I need to just see what Tony's got to say on his CX log and then go over it with commissioning agent, before I put my final verdict on the whole thing.
Okay.
This is Al Gordon, either to Peter or Jonathan. Are we still waiting on a letter just extending the warranty on those units to a time after the unit has been accepted and is working properly?
So a letter was sent over saying that Adams was willing to discuss extended warranties, and we are waiting on a discussion for that. That was part of when we do an RTU call, that can be sorted out.
Okay, who is that discussion to be with?
Between Adams and, I'm assuming, Peter and whoever else in town would like to join.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Peter.
Jonathan, anything from your perspective as far as the rooftop units operating beyond the cooling mode?
No, not being in the building, I can't speak how it's running, but I've been told by Adams and by AJ that they believe they're up and running as far as the heat goes, and that there is no other issues other than seeing how this power analyzer comes back and what the data says. But I have no more other than that. And
Well,
again,
I mean, Jonathan, it's probably just because you're out of loop on it. There is a little bit of heating issues. The cabinet heater that's at the entranceway that's on the Parkman Street side runs constantly. We have to we have the unit shut off because literally it becomes a sauna down there. It just runs constant.
okay.
I believe that was on the CX log also. So I haven't seen the updated log. I don't know if that's still an open item or not, but we have it killed at the unit by the power switch because the fan just runs all the time.
Jim, is there a thermostat in that area just to control the unit there?
There is, but the thermostat, you can put it down all the way to 50 and it's still pushing heat. It just runs constant.
Okay.
Go
ahead,
yes,
Peter.
Yeah, no, that is on the corrective action log. It still needs to be addressed and resolved. Okay, anything else with respect to the rooftop units at this time or the commissioning corrective action log? If something comes up, please bring it before we adjourn. I'll move down the list. Maybe the combination of the next three between Jonathan and Jim. Training, closeout documentation, maintenance doc. Can we bundle those three things in one conversation?
So Jim did go over training, and he's correct that Adams and AJ still owe some HVAC training and controls training for the BMS. And there's 3 days owed from Energy Electric on top of the lighting controls they've already done and the generator training. That will bring us up current on all the training requirements. I will reach out for dates and send dates over to Jim this week. And we'll go from there with the, as far as, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Jonathan and Jim, do we have sign off and acceptance of all the training that's required for the entire project? I'm going on a verbal that everything seems to be okay, but do we literally have?
Well, I haven't signed off on HVAC training because it's definitely not complete. And what Jonathan just said is true. We still have Energy Electric to come back for some training. We did do the generator training. We did do lighting control training. I have signed off on both of those. Well, I don't know if I've signed, there hasn't been a form sent to me saying sign it that everything's complete. I signed the form that we had the training, and I'm satisfied with it. But as far as, that's all bundled in with the electrical training. So, to sign off on electrical training, I have not, because we still have some more systems that we need to go over And I'm just waiting for some dates for that.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to see if we can get, progress sign off of the components that are required on the project, fire protection, plumbing, parts of the electrical, parts of the HVAC. There was some training required for the cell detention area on how to do that. If it's not needed, then we should sign off that it's accepted or give a waiver on it, just so there's some sort of closeout record keeping of what has been completed and what remains outstanding. We could somehow package that to see where we stand rather than just continue to talk in general terms of the status, if we could.
Well, Pete, if I get documents like that, for my signature, if they've been completed to my satisfaction, I'll absolutely sign them off. There are bits and pieces of HVAC, bits and pieces of electrical that still, we need to do a little bit more training on. The cell detention, I don't know what that would consist of in there, or if we need any, it would, maybe, I don't know what that would consist of.
Right. Well, I pulled that one off of memory because it's in the requirements of one of the closeout deliverables. If it's not necessarily needed, then just again, I'd like to see if we could give a waiver on it, not necessarily, not required. And Jonathan, if you could provide some form work or some paperwork for Jim for record keeping of what has been completed to what level, that'll be good progress.
Yes, we have sign off on the actual trainings as well, which I've been keeping on record, and I'll get something put together.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item, documents and maintenance doc.
So for that, the only things we're still waiting on is the majority of the electrical attic stock that was on order, and we have the acoustical ceiling tiles in our possession that we're going to bring out next week, and we have the cross tees that go with them that are on back order. That should be coming early February, and I will resend out the final updated list. I can send that out today as well, and then Jim can take a look, and if there's anything that's disputed or he feels as though is not on site and it's marked as being there, he can let me know and we can go over that. We can even discuss it further during the walkthrough.
Yeah, I did receive the paint finally from, Sherman Williams or whoever the painting contractor was. That was delivered. It was inventoried by myself and Danny. We now have it in stock, all brand new containers. We have it labeled. We know where it goes. So that part of it has been completed as far as the paint being delivered. And then the items Jonathan just said, I do know we're waiting for some more stuff from Energy, but we're gaining on it.
Jonathan, can you repeat what you said about February?
That there was some cross tees that are part of the acoustical ceiling, and they were on back order. That was some attic stock that we personally owe, and they won't be in until early to mid-February.
Wow. Okay. I think closeout documentation, Jim, operation and maintenance manuals, as-built documents. I think the site drawing, certified site survey for town engineering and DPW has been accepted and signed off.
That is correct. Fred can chime in on that too, but I do know that engineering did sign off on the documents. I believe that there's been a transmittal done, and we're all set with that. And you can correct me, Fred, if I'm wrong.
No, Jim, I concur with that.
Okay, that's good. And I think, Jim, the operation and maintenance manuals, I believe that's final as well. So I think we can close the closeout documents. The
only thing I would ask, and I know Jonathan has stated in the last meeting also, Jonathan, if you can get me a digital copy of the architecturals, the one that you would, provided to me, like I have stated before, it only had 2 pages on it, and then that was it. I don't need another hard copy. The one I have may not be complete, but it's such a huge amount of paper. It's much easier for me to just have it digitally, and I will accept that as complete if you can just get me that USB.
Okay, I can bring out a couple copies for you on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Peter, I'd have one on the closeout documents. We technically still have not issued a certificate of occupancy for the Sallyport. That was contingent on the final walkthrough.
Okay. Okay. No, thank you, Fred, on that clarification. I think I was referencing in my mind anyways, at least the maintenance and operation manuals and the drawings. But you're right, as far as permits and closeout records for your office, that's still open. Okay. Anything from anybody before we move down the list to the ADA? We good so far? Okay, I think I'm going to ask Brian to jump in. I think he's got some information based on some reports back from the Access Board. Brian, if you'd like to give us an update.
Hello. We did get word back from the Architectural Access Board in Massachusetts based on your variance request, and they did meet on December 14th. To review the application, and we received a letter on December 18th, and I think I forwarded that to the people that I had on my list for the committee. If you don't have it, I can forward a copy just for the record. But just to summarize what we had requested from from Massachusetts were a total of 17 requests. 1 through 13. They classify those as a modified relief request, and 1 through 13 for modified relief is stating that we have provided the conditions for accessibility, but there may be some dimensional discrepancies in the installations. This is where we were maybe a quarter of an inch off, up to a half an inch off in some locations for installations. And in the application, they state that those are the easier ones to get granted. Items 14 through 17, what we were asking for there was what they classify as full relief. And with full relief, what we're stating is we're acknowledging that it does not meet the requirements of the Mass Architectural Access Board and the ADA, and we're not proposing a solution. So a relief for full relief is stating that if they grant that relief, accessibility according to the AAB and ADA will not be granted at those locations. So those are harder to get. When we received word back, we were granted all of the variance requests for items 1 through 13. So those were the modified relief requests. So those have all been approved. Of the 4 items that we're asking for full relief, 1 of the 4 was granted. And the one that was granted was the rear exit out of the Great Hall. The door that leads from the front location of the Great Hall into a stairwell, and that door does not meet the requirements of the pull side and push side clearances. That relief was granted. It leaves 3 locations for full relief that they did not grant. They've actually denied request number 14, number 16, and number 17. Number 14, let me see if I get these. The 3 that are still denied, 2 of the locations, 2 of the 3 are door entrances into female toilet rooms. And this occurs on the 2nd floor and it occurs on the 3rd floor. It's public restrooms where the dimension of the pull side clearance does not meet the letter of the law. And so that has been denied because we have not proven that it's technically infeasible to provide accessibility. So I'll start with those two bathrooms. They're push-pull doors. They don't have any latching hardware. And the reason that they are not in compliance is because of existing construction, and it does not have the required width at the exit due to the existing construction of the bathroom. The third one is a door that leads from the police corridor on the main floor to the rear vestibule exit on the Parkman Street end of the building. We're required to get a 12-inch clearance for push side clearance, and we don't have 12 inches. I think we have maybe 7 inches, but that's doesn't meet the 12-inch requirement. That is a fire door. It leads from a corridor into a path of egress, and so that door serves as a fire door because it converges with the basement exit from the lower level up into the vestibule. So we need to provide latching hardware, and we need to provide a fire door, and that's within a rated condition. So what I've now looked at is how we can provide full compliance at those locations. And this is what I had proposed in my May 2020 letter that I had sent to the town, that you do have alternatives with these installations. The one alternative that we looked to do was the variance request, but because that was denied, we do have alternatives. And I think for the bathrooms, the easiest alternative that I propose is that we add automatic opening devices to those doors. So it would be a panel that occupants within the room can push for egress. We don't have a condition for the entrance to the bathrooms. The entrance gives us proper push side clearance, but the discrepancy in the accessibility is on the pull side clearance when you're exiting the room. So we are only requiring the panel for egress, not for entrance. If we were to furnish and install automatic opening devices and a device to automatically open that door upon egress, those openings would then be in compliance. On the door condition at the corridor, we do have alternatives for that door. One alternative is to remove the door and frame and move it the 3 or 4 inches that it needs to give us 12 inches. So it would be, demolition of that frame and in the wall, relocation of the frame, reconstruction of the wall, reconstruction of the firewall, and then putting it all back together, patch it, paint it, and all of that just to move it the inches that it needs to move. Another alternative on that is to do the same thing that I just proposed at the bathrooms, is if we provide an automatic opening device on that with a button on the wall, it's only required on the egress side. That corridor really is only utilized by police personnel, maybe some civilian staff, but it's primarily police personnel. Having the button doesn't mean that you can't still manually open and close that door. It just gives a power assist for accessibility. The only thing that with that frame is we do have latching hardware. So in addition to providing the automatic opening device, you also have to pair that with an electric strike. So when the panel's pushed, the electric strike's released, the door automatically opens, and then it returns back to a latched and secure condition at the firewall. I have reached out to Stanley Automatic Opening, and I've talked to them about doing this. They said it's a regular installation. It's nothing unique. The only unique feature on that fire door is the addition of the electric strike, and they would have to modify the frame. They don't have to modify the door hardware. They'd have to modify the frame for an electric strike. So they said for budget purposes, budget about $3,000 a door for solving this and getting it back into a compliant condition for accessibility. They said that's a good budget number. It's probably something they could do less. And I've also talked to them about doing this direct for the town of Westborough and maybe not going through 5-Star to get this completed. And Kevin, who I talked to, is very familiar with Jim. And Jim, I guess you and Kevin have done similar installations in Westborough. He was familiar with you, your name. And he's available if you need any more information from them to get this, at least to get a proposal, if that's the route you want to take on these 3 conditions. So I think that's a summary of where we're at. I think in closing, as far as looking at this variance request and looking down the road, one of the things that we did not include in this variance request were the existing handrails in the building. And the way I've just described it, those would actually be another modified relief request. We're not asking for a full relief because that falls under the same dimensional discrepancies that items 1 through 13 were requesting. I think that the intent of the handrails that are existing, we found that many locations that they do comply with the ADA, and there's only minor dimensional discrepancies when they don't. So it's something down the road that the Westborough might be considering if you do get any complaints or any feedback from public saying that they're not in compliance. It seems like the variance route might be a viable alternative for a modified relief on those also, but you'd have to go through the process again for the request and review. So that's just another side note. So any questions that anybody has on this whole process?
I had a quick question related to the stairs. Or the handrails that you were just describing. I mean, what would be the downside of us just going forward asking for that variance at this point? I mean, I don't know. I know that it was left off of the variance request, but I think based on the response that we got from the state, I have the same thoughts, Brian, that we would likely get that relief. And so why would we not pursue it at this time?
Yeah, I think, Christy, that's why I just mentioned it. I think it would probably close the book on that item and give you a piece of paper that says that the state has accepted it.
Okay.
Al?
Go ahead, Dex.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we authorize Brian to proceed with the variance request for the railings.
We got a motion. Dex, do we have a second?
I'll second it. This is Ian.
Second by Ian. Are there any comments or questions about that? Okay, hearing now, we'll do a roll call vote. Dexter?
Aye.
Jim Stewart? Jim, you're on mute.
Yeah, I got it. Aye.
Earl?
I got a question. Why wasn't it bundled in the first time? Why are we going back at it now on a separate thing? Why couldn't we put it through 1 through 17 on the first time?
Brian?
I know it's something that we talked about. It was a decision that was made through the town, and we were directed accordingly. I think there was, and I can't speak for Christy or Fred. I think there was a feeling that let's attempt 1 through 17, and then see how that goes. And I think we're at that point now that we feel a little bit more confident about the handrails.
Yeah, I'll chime in on that. So I'll take the heat for that if you like, Earl. The intent when we went for the variances, we went, at least from my perspective, we didn't want to overload this thing. And we didn't want to go crazy with it. And we didn't really know. I had reached out to the chair of that actual committee, but I didn't have a warm, comfortable feeling that would be granted a million different variances. So that was one of the ones that we said, well, we'll leave it off for right now and we'll address it later. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you. That's a good answer. I'm in favor.
Okay, Peter O'Neill?
Yes.
Okay, Ian?
Yes.
Yeah, I remembered you this time, Ian.
Yeah, that's good.
I've got one more, Al.
And Al, yes, so that's unanimous. I do have a question on Brian, though. On the door at the police station there, is a 5-inch difference. How did that come up with that much of a difference?
We reused an existing opening. And that's where the existing door and frame was, and they replaced it in kind. If you look on our drawings, we're showing on our drawings, while we're not dimensioning 12 inches, we're showing that there's 12 inches. So we drew it to show compliance, but when you were looking at the existing opening and replacing the door and frame within an existing opening, they didn't shift the frame to allow the 12-inch requirement when they put the new door and frame in. They just removed existing, replaced with new. It wasn't until the report came out at the end of the project, when everything was done, that they found the discrepancy of the, how many inches.
Well, the scope of work, was that to put a brand new door in there, or was it just to use the existing door?
No, we've taken all the existing frames out, but we had a new door and new frame, and all they were looking to do was replace it in the existing opening. So yeah, we didn't pick it up. The OPM did not pick it up. The contractor just replaced it in kind without the assistance of any dimension on our drawings that says that there's a requirement for 12 inches.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Al,
Yes, Dex?
make another motion, please, that we authorize Jim Stewart to proceed with Stanley door openings to get some quotes on automating the 3 doors that Brian's mentioned, and get back to us a price at the next meeting so we can make a decision to what we'll do.
Okay, before we do that, Brian, do you have a hard quote from them?
No, I've had telephone conversations and email correspondence with them, but I have not, other than just explain to them the conditions. They have not gone out and seen it and done any field work yet to give you a hard quote.
Okay.
Brian,
That's what I'm asking to have Jim do, Al.
Okay, Jim, you have a comment?
Yeah, Brian, on those bathroom doors on the 2nd and 3rd floor, are we talking at both of those in the men's rooms? This is the women's room doors? Are we
It's only
talking?
the women's room. The men's room are in compliance.
Okay, so in the women's room, there's only one door to go in and out, correct?
Correct.
There's not a vestibule area in between. So we're talking 2 doors there, and then the one by the roll call room going outside downstairs in the 1st floor.
Yeah, from the corridor to the vestibule.
Okay. If you could, Brian, could you just forward me Kevin's contact information again? I do have his card and his information, but everything's in boxes still in my office, so I'd have to dig through it to find it. It'd be much quicker if you could just send that off to me.
Yeah, and I can forward you the emails that we've had going back and forth already on those.
Okay.
And I can identify clearly the locations that we're talking about.
All right, I think Christy had something now.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, I think it's fine to move forward to get the hard quotes. I think that's important, but it's also possible that some of these end up on our ADA transition plan, and there could be grant opportunities in the future. So I think that we should just keep that in mind when Jim brings the quote back.
All right, Dexter, you want to repeat your motion?
To authorize Jim to proceed with getting quotes from, said Stanley, but from whomever, for those 3 doors that Brian has listed, number 13, 16, and 17, and get that number back to us for our next meeting. We can make a decision.
Okay, do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, Peter O'Neill seconded. Do we have any questions or comments about this?
The only comment is, Dexter, I'm at the mercy of Stanley Door. as far as getting that quote. They're going to send somebody out to physically look at it, or if they're going to try to give me a hard quote just by my description. So it might go beyond next month's meeting. That it's all up to them. I'll reach out to them this week. But
I do your best to see if you can get something back for us by the next meeting. 30 days should be able to come out in a short time.
Well, we got a COVID. Don't forget that big excuse about everything.
Right.
Yeah, okay, well,
Dexter, can you just
do what you
amend that?
can, Jim.
Dexter, could you amend your motion that if it's possible to have a report by the next meeting?
That's fine. I mean, I understand the logistics of it, but do your
All right.
best to get something for us for the next meeting, Jim.
I will.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. We're going to roll call vote. Dexter?
Aye.
Jim Stewart?
Aye.
Earl?
Aye.
Pete O'Neill?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Al Gordon, yes, so it's unanimous. Okay, I guess we're back to Peter.
Okay, thank you very much for that report, Brian, and everybody's participation in that. Sounds like some good news came out of that whole process. Next item, I think this is probably a Jim Stewart response. Anything with the carport drain and gutters you want to report, Jim?
Sure. I believe at the last meeting I said I had spoke with Energy Electric. When they were there doing our training, we went out and looked at the situation out there. It was right after it had snowed, and the issue we were having, how the snow was sliding off, and it hangs a big, 1 foot piece of snow hangs there and then drops off. I spoke with him about what our plan was to put gutters in to take care of the water. So when it does melt off the roof, it doesn't land on the ground and refreeze. Suggestion that I made to him was to put coils in the metal roof to keep, so that large pieces of snow aren't falling off and landing down there and ripping off brand new gutters that we put on. What he thought about putting coils in there. They were supposed to get me a quote. I have not heard back from them. So I've gone out and reached out to Inner City Electric. It's another company that I use quite often in town when I have electrical issues. They're coming out to give me a quote for that part of it. From there, we will move forward with the gutters on that. But I believe that's the way to do it. If we can just keep the ice from forming or the snow from forming on the roof, and it just melts off and runs down during the storm, we won't have large chunks of ice and snow falling off that roof and potentially tearing off brand new gutters, before we I don't think putting the gutters up is going to solve our problem.
No.
So that's where I'm at as far as that goes. I'm just waiting for a day where George from Inner City Electric can meet me to take a look at this, where I haven't heard anything back from Energy.
Al, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Dex.
Jim, what I understand what your thoughts are there, but what are you going to do with when the snow ice melt off the roof and run onto the ground? How are you going to take care of it on the ground?
Well, we are going to get quotes on the gutter too, Dexter. It's just I feel like if we put the gutter before the ice melt situation, we're going to end up potentially, the gutters are just going to fill with snow. As that slides off the roof, it's going to fill with snow, and it's not going to work. We're going to end up with a big dam there, and we're going to have potentially even more issues. So just in evaluating the situation, I feel like, to fix the problem properly, this is where we needed to go first, and then we'll go with the gutters.
No, I agree with you, Jim, but my question is, out the gutters, well, with the gutters, it doesn't make any difference, but the snow melts on, you're going to put heaters on the roof, or that's what you're talking about here. Heaters on the roof, and the snow ice is going to melt off of the roof, and one way or another, it's going to get to the pavement. What are we going to do with when it gets to the pavement, it's going to freeze again? What are you going to do with that?
At that time, if it's working properly and there's water coming off the roof during storms, the DPW goes around that building with their sanders and keeps it sanded and salted constantly. So
Okay.
I don't feel like we're going to
Got it.
end up with
Okay.
large pieces. You got it? Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Jim, I thought we also discussed possibly running the drain down into the storm drain so that there would be nothing on the surface.
Yeah, that was all part of the gutters. I met with Earl and John Fryer over there. I had talked to Lisa, the town engineer, about being able to put the water into those storm drains. She was fine with the idea. So we have all that part of it laid out. It's just, in looking at it, I felt like if we put the gutters before trying to solve the problem, that we were just going to end up with snow-filled gutters, and they're not going to take care of the job that we need. So it's kind of a two-step process, and I just can't get. I don't know why Energy didn't send me back a quote. I guess they're too busy or something. But we meet with them. We went over the project, the scope of what I wanted. I've since called Intercity Electric to see if we can get them to give us a price. And then we will, we'll get the price of the gutters and we'll tie the whole thing in, and it'll be a complete project.
Okay, just as a follow-up, I have spoken with Chief Laurie, and the DPW has been doing a very good job on maintaining the area out back there with the salt and the sand.
We also did have a barrel dropped off there from the DPW with a sand salt mix in it, so that if it's during the middle of the night or at a time when there's not custodians in the building, whether it's the contractor that's taking care of cleaning the lot or the DPW, there is sand salt available there.
Okay, I guess we're back to you, Peter.
Very good. Thank you very much. Just moving down the list, we'll move on to item 4, which is the budget and the contracts and things of that nature. I'll hit all 3 of these at once. Not a lot of change since the last meeting in reference to just the budget, the change order log, and the look-ahead costs. So real quick, I'll give you the screenshot here. Similar change order log from the contractor. This one still stands at general conditions extension request. That is, I am still carrying that just for the purpose of what it is. And the next one is what we've been tracking for record keeping. The owner's potential look-ahead exposure. A lot of these have been cleaned up. We still have the one for the OPM that is out there in discussions with the town manager's office on that. And then we get into the budget itself, which you're familiar with, just the tracking of expenses throughout the course of the project. It's a 12-page document. It's all listed here, but I'll go to the bottom line, last page, which kind of just summarizes where all the costs are. And you can see right here, I'll zoom in a little bit, maybe it's easier. Move my screen, excuse me. So pretty much the last, say, 10 rows from this gray line down, project totals. Again, similar format to the past reports. Look ahead costs, that 54,600 is being tracked. 30,000 for the OPM, leaves a potential uncommitted available balance of 219,694. And then we talked a little bit this morning as well, still just tracking for record keeping and discussion, potential revised interior railings, miscellaneous ADA, AAB modifications, the 70,000 and 30,000 would potentially leave. If all these things did apply, the 119,000 as potentially uncommitted balance. That's the current tracking. Certainly this can be adjusted and will be adjusted based on today's discussion and further discussions down the road. But again, as we stand today, at this time, this is what the numbers look like.
Peter, on the bottom line here, I can't read, it's like 641, 642, you got a little note on the side. This says the last update was October 29.
Oh, let me zoom in exactly. Yeah, it's right here. This is in the this area here, this orange area.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we do periodically. we touch base with the town accountant's office. We get a report from the town accountant called the Munis report, where we look at what the town accountant is tracking for expenses that they're paying off this project. Then we update it to our budget. And last time we did that was back in, we got a
Yeah,
report.
can we have it for the next meeting, Peter? Can we have that updated to at least January 1st and perhaps even the 15th?
Sure. Yeah, we touch base periodically. No, we color coded this report. Anything in the orange area here, I can see these numbers here. These were expenses paid directly by the town, and we're tracking them in our budget against what we're using.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't, when we get to, we're this close to the end, I don't want any surprises coming at us. So if you can get that updated for the next meeting, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, I will work with the town accountant's office to get an updated report from them.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I'll go back to the cover sheet, but if there's any questions on the change order log or any of those 3 logs in the budget, we can come back to that. If not, Mr. Chairman, I'll move down to item 5, just kind of an open item discussion for anything that has not been mentioned yet.
I have one thing. It's just a follow-up. At the last meeting, we had a notice from the town, from the police department, that the cells had failed a state inspection because of the heat in one of the cell block areas. And that has been taken care of. I believe Jim Stewart could probably update us on that.
That's on the hot water, Al?
Yes.
Yes, that has been taken care of. I had put a call into Arugio, the plumber that was in that building, let him know what was going on. They ordered they weren't going to come all the way out here and not bring another water heater with them, so they just ordered another water heater. Technician showed up, went back, changed it, and we're all good.
Just a defective water heater, Jim?
Yeah, it just quit working.
Huh, okay.
It's one of those, instant hot water heaters.
Yep,
It's probably,
yep.
8 to 12.
And I have spoken with Chief Laurie, and the state has been notified, and the cells have been approved. Okay, go ahead, Peter.
Great, no, okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Committee members, we can move to item 6.
Okay,
No, Peter,
we got Peter O'Neill, I believe, has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure.
I'm sorry I missed the first part of the meeting. I forgot what day it was. But anyways, in the beginning of the meeting, we had something about the rooftop units. And my question is, have we had any positive news on the wonderful rooftop units that don't work half the time or work half the time and not the rest? I mean, if you could just tell me yes or no, I'd appreciate that.
Yes.
Peter, I'll chime in on this. Unfortunately, right now we're in the heating mode. The issues all along with the RTUs have been on the cooling side, and right now there's no way to know if they're working or not working. Basically the heat comes out of the boilers, not the RTUs. The RTUs are there now. They function as bringing in fresh air and supplying air to the building in the wintertime. It's not so much for heating. The VAVs and the boilers take care of that. So the answer to the question is we haven't had any issues because the system's not running in that mode. So we're kind of a wait and see from that. They did update we haven't received the updated commissioning agent's log yet. Jonathan says he has a copy of it. He's going to send it over to us. We'll review it and see. But I think it's going to have to be a wait and see as far as when it comes to the cooling season.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I missed the first part of the meeting, but I'm just curious about, we've had so much, in my opinion, so many problems with the heat and the air conditioning and fresh air, whatever. I just was wondering if some of that stuff has been resolved. So I understand that we're not in a cooling season, But, I just still disappointed in where we've been with those units.
Okay, back to you, Peter.
Yeah, that's it. I can't think of anything else I want to bitch about.
Peter, I have one other item that I'd like to bring up. It's a follow-up on an invoice that Five Star had submitted for ceiling repairs at the Selectmen's meeting room at the town hall. That had been brought up at a prior meeting, and I had chimed in that I wanted to review it because I had kind of brokered a deal with Five Star to get ceiling repairs done over there for services that we provided to Five Star. So I did follow up with Matt. Matt has come back and said yes, that what we had talked about still existed, and they had done some ceiling repairs to work that was related to water damage from the clock tower. And that invoice was never submitted to the town of Westborough. So all the repairs they made to ceilings for repairing plaster and repainting due to water damage from the clock tower was never submitted and was taken care of. This invoice that they have submitted is for work that was in the same ceiling, but they were asked to come back at a later date and make additional repairs to the ceiling where at the end wall, where the water appeared to be coming from flashing at the chimney. So it wasn't related to the clock tower, but it was work that they performed in the same area, in the same room, and that work was completed, and that's what the invoice is for. So what I had said earlier was true, but also it appears that there's still an outstanding invoice for additional work that was done as requested by the town. The only thing that I'm noting on this is they've submitted as an expense to the Forbes building, and if you pay it through the Forbes building budget, we're going to have to prepare a change order to their contract. So I don't know how the town wants to handle this, whether it's going to be a change order at the Forbes building or if it should just be handled as a separate invoice to the town for the town hall work. But I just wanted to give more clarity from our standpoint on that invoice.
Brian, how much are we talking?
Alan, I can answer that. It's $2,378.
Thank you. Just wondering maybe through Christie if that's something that we could eventually pay, or does that have to go through town meeting for a bill from a previous year?
Yeah, that's where I'd go with it, Al.
No, we can pay it out of the town hall project. We still have money in the town hall project. So if the committee wants to vote on it, we can put it through the town hall.
What is your recommendation, Christie?
That would be my recommendation. As long as, Jim, I think Jim is the one who worked with Five Star to request the work. So as long as he signs off as far as what was requested and what was done, and the committee votes on it, then we would just put it through the town hall project.
Do we need to see the invoice in order to pay it?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I make a motion to approve payment of the invoice to Five Star for the $2,300 from the town hall account.
I'll second that. This is Ian.
Brian, do we have the exact amount?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, hi. I have a copy of that invoice. Based on the vote that's about to take place, if approved, I will process that through the town accountant's office and town manager's office for payment.
Do we have an exact amount?
I have $2,376.76.
Dexter, you want to amend your motion?
That's the number.
And I amend my second to that number.
Okay, Ian seconds. We'll do a roll call vote. Dexter? Or do we have any other comments?
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Peter.
Since we've had so many problems with this, the flashing around I realize this, we're talking about over by the fireplace chimney wall, but with all the rain we've had, have we still had a dry ceiling in the main under the clock tower area? We don't meet there anymore, so I can't lean back and look up there. So,
Jim Stewart?
Yes. Yeah, there's been no further water coming in the building.
Okay, thanks. I just curious about all of that. This jogged my mind.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Al, could I just
This is the leak on the chimney behind where the selectmen meet, not over the fireplace. It's on the west end of the leak.
All right, Ian, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just to Christie's question, just to Jim for confirmation that you're comfortable that it was completed to what you had requested.
Yes, Ian, it was, but I do want to state that this wasn't a bill that the town in any way was trying not to pay. We never got invoiced for it. It was 8 months later in a new fiscal year when I received the bill from Five Star on it. And it's been an issue, and I said that, you know, we need to go to town meeting. We'd already gone through a town meeting. You know, it wasn't by any means the town, you know, disputing the repairs or anything like that. It was just the fact that we didn't get the bill, and it's been an ongoing issue since.
Right, I think Brian explained that out to us also, how that transpired.
Right, yep, I just wanted to, as we approve this to be paid now out of the town hall funds, just wanted to make sure that you were comfortable that it was completed, so we weren't paying for something that we still had an issue, but it sounds like you're good, it's completed, and we're good to pay.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second, and are there any other comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Dexter?
Aye.
Ian?
Yes.
Jim Stewart?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Peter O'Neill?
Yes.
Al Gordon, yes, so it's unanimous. Okay, back to Peter.
Very good. Thank you, committee members. Item 6 on the report, one invoice, the company NV5, the commissioning agent, $651 for the period that was submitted. They're down to the last. They're down to the last task. They've got about, I don't have the invoice in front of me. I should have. I apologize. I think there's like $1,200 left in their contract for the final report.
Move to approve the payment of $651 to NV5.
Okay, we have a motion by Dexter. We have a second.
I'll second that. Jim
Okay,
Stewart.
seconded by Jim Stewart. Do we have any comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Dexter?
Aye.
Ian?
Yes.
Is that a yes, Ian?
Yes.
Okay. Jim Stewart?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Al Gordon, yes, so it's unanimous. Okay, back to you, Peter.
Okay, I have a question.
Oh, Dexter's got a question.
And it may be to Peter. While we're on invoices, Peter, what's the status of the one from Johnson Controls?
That's on hold. It's under further review, pending further discussion between Five Star and Town Council.
Okay, very well, thank you.
Yep. Back to the report, Mr. Chairman, committee members, just that pretty much concludes what I have to present this morning. Just looking at item 7 is consideration for the next meeting on a monthly basis, which would be February 3rd.
Okay. I do have one prior thing under number 5 for new business. I have composed a report for the annual town report, and I have forwarded that to each one of the members. There are a couple changes in there. One is I need to note that I'm reporting on the Forbes project, which was brought to my attention by Dexter, and that will be changed. And the other one that I saw was it was, you know, myself, I neglected to put Ian Johnson down as a full member, which has been corrected on the report. Are there any comments by any other members or changes or additions to the report? Dexter, nothing?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Ian?
Yeah, I don't think I saw it, so, but I'll trust you guys, because I'm the new guy, only been in one meeting, so.
Oh, I got a few other things to add, if you haven't seen it yet, Ian. All right, Jim Stewart or Earl?
No, good.
We're good.
Okay, and Peter O'Neill?
I'm okay with it.
Okay, I will do the corrections that are in there, and adding in Forbes Building and also Ian's name on a full member. I will submit that to the town for the annual report. Thank you.
Good job, Al, on that. Thank you for taking it on.
Okay, thank you.
Al, just one other thing. I don't think that I received this document that we've gone through today. If that could just be sent to me after the fact, to kind of follow along, but with some of the detailed stuff on the change order log, whatever. If that could someone could just forward that to me after the meeting, that would be great. And I think it's probably because I wasn't on the list as a full member. So
okay.
Thanks.
Ian, I did send it this morning, probably at 8:15. I put down your email address, ijohnson.
Okay.
Westborough. I'll check, but if you didn't get
it, shows that I'm paying attention to the meeting and not reading emails during the meeting. So thanks.
Yeah.
But yes,
I'll second that, Ian.
Okay, so next meeting scheduled for February 3rd. Do we do a vote on that?
Well, it's good to go for me.
We're good?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have anything further?
I'm okay with it too, if I can remember what day we are.
I should call you the day before, Peter.
It's on the big thing on my computer.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second, Jim Stewart.
Okay, seconded. We'll do a roll call. Dexter?
Aye.
Ian?
Yes.
Jim Stewart?
Yes.
Earl?
Yes.
Peter O'Neill?
Yes.
Al Gordon, yes. So we are adjourned. Thank you.
Everybody stay well.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you.